The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. This feels like one of those mails that I'll give a weird answer to. People will be unsatisfied by, because everybody loves those. So it says, "Hello, my dear Perch Perchington. What is the incentive to bring back good stories to Marvel and DC? The modern narrative is that comic creators who work for Marvel, and by the way, does anybody else have a car like this where it's got the sensor that's supposed to beep at you when you're close to things, but I am stopped, parked. Nobody is around me. Nothing has changed. It is beeping at ghosts. Like nothing, like it's bizarre. Anyway, the modern narrative is that comic creators who work for Marvel and DC receive a crappy payment and do it just to virtue signal and pat their backs with their friends. But why do more? I understand that 40 years ago, creators had a few niche recognition in Wizards magazine and other comic conventions. However, today we see their work adapted to millionaire franchises making billions to faceless corporations while they are struggling with bad health and dying without any recognition. While manga creators partially own their own properties, receive, sales, merchandising, and end rich. Well, okay. I'll get into this whole thing, but let's not mistake the illusion, or don't make the mistake that manga and mangaka are somehow doing well financially. Yes, absolutely, some are. Oda, no doubt about it, doing great. But a lot of them have an absolute shit life. Even mild success is pretty much below a poverty line of, American comics. It's not all riches over there. Okay, that's not an argument for or against like manga's somehow inferior now or anything else. It's just the economics of a job in Japan are very different, and it's completely different in terms of what people are playing for, what they're after. It's very different. So it's dangerous to say, well, manga people are getting rich. Yeah, a couple. And when they get rich, they get super rich. Rumiko Takahashi's doing quite well. Oda, doing great. I thoroughly made a mistake. But I made a comment about Rumiko Takahashi has more net worth than Stephen King. Yes and no. Mostly no. I said this in another video. The no part is if you're strictly going by assets, then no. If you're going by, contracts of money that continues to pay out, so future money, then Rumiko Takahashi has an immense amount of wealth. I don't think people quite realize that aspect of it. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Okay, but we're getting to Rumiko Takahashi. The mail continues. Rumiko Takahashi, at the time of Inuyasha, was the richest woman in Japan and one of the 100 most rich women in the world. Why would someone make an effort to create original IP for Marvel and DC? The fact that nobody does good stuff or make any effort is not propositional, even if it is in a subconscious level. I'm not sure. I didn't get that last point. My apologies. But otherwise, thank you for the mail. If the question here is, what is the incentive to bring stories to Marvel and DC? At the crux and the heart of this question, because there's a lot of different directions we could take this mail, but the main one that I think what you're getting at here is, hey, if you're a comic creator, and let's say you're super talented, you have great ideas, you generate, IP in your sleep. You're just really, really good at what you do. And you're just great at kind of spinning off ideas. If that's you, why in the world would you go to Marvel and DC and create characters and stories for them when you're not making any of that money? You're making money for Marvel and DC. They're going to pay you a, fairly low wage. Put it this way. There's a comic creator who got a $450,000 advance, at one of the big two. And that's a lot of money. $450,000. It's a bunch of money. It's great. But there's a lot of caveats. I'm abstracting the story a lot. So please, if you work for Marvel and you write in no, trust me, I'm combining a lot of things here because I'm trying to keep some secrets. But anyway, let's put it this way. A very big money advance was given to somebody, and that sounds great. But you're not going to become a Rumiko Takahashi or Oda level of rich working at Marvel and DC. You're going to make them rich. They're going to go out and make movies off your IP. They're going to convert some of this stuff to move to all kinds of different things, but you're not going to get cut in on much of that. At best, you're going to get a good paycheck, maybe in advance. You're going to get a bonus, maybe, probably not. You're going to get royalties. And let's say you're the next, let's say you're literally Alan Moore, and you're getting, they keep your book in print for 30 years, and they make movies and HBO shows off of it. Maybe you get some checks off of that. And, unlike Alan Moore, maybe you get some money off of all this. It's still not going to be amazing, go fuck off money. You have to go to the independents. You have to basically own your property and do your own thing. So what's the incentive for working at Marvel and DC and bringing ideas there? Well, to be blunt, and by the way, this is one area where I see other videos that are like, nobody should ever do this, and it's crap if you ever work for them. Well, there's some very real, relevant reasons why you would work for the big two. Reason number one, because you're trying to build up your own name. So, unfortunately, the path to becoming super rich and amazing on the independent scene likely goes through the big two. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. But your odds of getting that big name and that big following and that ability to kind of write some of your own ticket without doing a stopover in Marvel and DC, you're into 1 in 100 territory, if not 1 in 1,000. Just makes it a lot harder. The other kind of, reason is, and this is one people may not like to admit terribly, but, when you're starting out in your career, you probably don't have great ideas, or maybe you have great ideas, but you don't know how to execute them. And so one of the benefits to working to a Marvel or a DC is you work within a framework. They basically give you a box. The box is the Spider-Man universe. You get practice and exposure working in that universe and kind of perfecting things at that level. And if you're clever about it, you're paying attention to the numbers and the sales and what's bouncing and what's not, and how to properly, generate a good cliffhanger that's going to lead to all this stuff. And I mean, this is what you should do. I'll tell you right now, if you're a writer that is starting to work at the big two, I want you to follow this advice. Grab yourself a copy of Excel, start something that indicates the comic that you're on, and if you're on something that's new, figure out what the lead-up comics are, the things that are similar to it. Get the numbers from your editor, and you might have to fight to do this, but get the numbers and chart your own numbers and really plot it back to the story you're writing. If I use this character and I have this kind of story structure, it's this sales. And get obsessive, like the meme from Sunny in Philadelphia. Get obsessive about, if I do this, it makes this happen. If I don't do this, it makes this happen. Just get really aware of your own sales. Because what you're going to find out is I can do sales analysis all day long, and so can others, but you as the writer know what you are trying to accomplish any given month for any given title. So you have a sense of the heartbeat of the metrics, the data around what you're doing, which includes the sales, which should include how long it took you to write the story, what it took to, how many editor's notes did you get back, what was the process like, chart all of that. Go to Excel, make a little row, Spider-Man number 5, and here's how long it took, and here's how long it took to go through the minutia of the editorial, and here's what happened when it went to print, and when it went to trade, it sold this. Like, chart all of that. And if you do this for a year in the big two, you're gaining yourself a shitload of data. And by the way, if you just turn in your scripts on time, don't act like an asshole, be normal, the editor will give you all kinds of other information too. Like how well the sister titles to yours are selling. What are the numbers on those? And you start to really plot out, what does it take to move the needle in this market? And when you have that data, and it doesn't take that long to produce if you're diligent about it, you will understand yourself better, how long it takes to do things, what the general cadence should be like. That tells you the amount of, amount of velocity of the work you have to do and the amount of volume you can produce. And then you understand, hey, if this kind of story structure with this kind of payoff tends to do better than this other kind of payoff. Like, get all that stuff really, really correct in your mind, and you will be powerful. That's the key here. You will actually emerge from it incredibly powerful. That is what we must do. So again, I strayed off course, but why would you work for Marvel and DC? because it's going to help your rep, because you're going to learn the ropes, because you're going to make connections, because maybe you're going to get partnered with some artists that you couldn't naturally afford on the indie market, and you're going to learn your trade. But you would be an absolute fool to give your best ideas to the big two, because they own it, not you, and you will never be rich doing it. And granted, the idea of being a Rumiko Takahashi level of rich in the U.S. in this comic business is pretty much zero, but there's a chance. There is no chance to having that amount of money working it all through Marvel and DC, unless you somehow find a way to buy Marvel and DC. So that's what you got. Own your own destiny. That's the message. Thank you very much for the mail. I really appreciate it. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below, like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.